Hey everybody, I'm Benjamin, aka The Terrible Australian of supermarsy.com, and welcome to my video review of director Catherine Hardwicke's new film, the comedy drama Miss You Already. So let's get right into it. So, I know a lot of people kind of mix on Catherine Hardwicke, but I think she's a director who does have talent. I mean, yeah, I know she directed Twilight, which is an awful film, and but but she has made some pretty decent films. Like I think her first couple of films, like 13, Lords of Dogtown, and The Nativity Story, were actually really good films. Particularly 13, which in my opinion is still perhaps her best film as a director. And I think she does have a lot of talent, and I think when she sort of gets the right kind of script, she can do really wonders with it. But it's only just in the last few years that since Twilight, her filmography hasn't been as quite as stellar. Red Riding Hood, which was basically just another kind of variation on the Twilight sort of formula, but in the sort of Red Riding Hood story, was pretty bad. And I haven't had a chance to see her previous film, Plush, so I've heard mixed things about that one. But I'll have to check that out at some point. But despite sort of a mixed bag of her filmography, I was definitely intrigued to still check out her latest film, Miss You Already, which is a comedy drama that's set in Britain. That's sort of about the friendship between two characters played by Australian actress Toni Collette and Drew Barrymore, and it's sort of the trials that they go through together and how their friendship is tested when Drew's character finds out she is pregnant, but it just happens to happen at the same time as when Toni Collette finds out that she has cancer. So there's kind of that sort of thing, sort of dynamic going on there. Like, does Drew want to sort of let her best friend know of this happy news when she's going through probably the most terrible time of her life, and which could possibly be, be terminal for her. So that's an interesting sort of dynamic in the film. But to me, but as a film overall, I think it's an okay film. Like, it definitely is a tearjerker for sure. I think it's. I mean, if you kind of love film, like if you enjoy sort of tearjerkers, then I think you'll definitely get to enjoy this one, or at least shed a couple of tears or anything like that. But and other people might find the sentimental because of those reasons. But I thought it was a pretty okay film. Like, it's a watchable film. It's well directed by Catherine Hardwicke, and the script which was written by Morwenna Banks. And I was sort of doing a bit of research on her, and apparently the script of this film is kind of semi-autobiographical in a way. So you can tell that at times there is a kind of a authenticity with some aspects of the story, but it's a film that sort of has that sort of drama, but also has humor in it as well. So in a way, kind of sort of, brings some levity kind of to the more heavier scenes in the film, and I think in a way that sort of, but usually when films kind of balance that, especially in a film that's about, cancer, and I think the last sort of comedy drama I can think of that kind of dealt with that kind of sort of tone was 50/50, which I thought did a really good job of sort of balancing both its humor and its drama. And this film, while it doesn't quite it's not quite on the level as 50/50, but for the most part I think Catherine Hardwicke did a really good job. It's sort of finding that balance between the two. And even though sometimes sort of the dramatic stuff can be a bit sentimental and all that, but for the most part, I think it's pretty well directed. But I think the key thing that made the film at least work for me was, of course, the performances of Toni Collette and Drew Barrymore. I think they're both really good in this film, and particularly Toni Collette, who has kind of the more juicier role to play. And it's an interesting character she plays as well. It's like her character, even though she has cancer, and we've sympathize with her on that regard. But during the course of the film, like how she starts to do things sort of very unlikable things, and in a way that kind of, I guess, what's the word I'm going to use? She's sort of struggling with what she's going through, and I guess in a way she sort of does things like that make her come across as kind of unsympathetic, and the way how she treats her best friend and her family and all that. But the film at the same time doesn't judge her for those reasons, and you can in a way do understand what she's going through, but luckily as the film goes along, the film sort of starts to get her back to start sympathizing with her character again. And but Toni Collette, who's always been a wonderful actress, is able sort of took this role, and she just brings a lot of life to the character, sort of make us kind of, her character's kind of like the life of the party and all that, and sort of the struggles that her character goes through. And Toni Collette does a really good job at sort of conveying that in this film. Even the sort of unlikable aspects of her character, Toni kind of gives us a sense of, we understand why she's doing what she's doing, even though we don't agree with what she's doing, but in a way, she makes us empathize with her in those aspects. And of course, the supporting cast, we have Paddy, Considine, and Dominic Cooper, and Jacqueline Bisset. Everyone does a really good job in their supporting roles, and I think it's both does have a lot of weird, and I will admit, even though I didn't cry in the movie, I was a bit misty-eyed towards the end. So it's definitely a film that I can understand, like, a lot of people just calling it kind of sentimental, or a movie that really sort of tugs at the heartstrings, or kind of manipulative, or in that regard. But for the most part, I think the film, the filmmakers do treat the story with respect, especially in the regards to cancer as well, and they don't make fun of that or anything like that. But I mean, the humor kind of comes from more of the real life situations that, and it's a pretty solid film. Like, it's not a great film by any means. It definitely is, without a doubt, a definitive tearjerker of the highest order. But for the most part, it's decent, and it's, like I said, it's to me, it's both the performances and the filmmaking that sort of elevate this from being an average film to me. So overall, if I had to give Miss You Already a rating, I give it about 3 stars. Like I said, it's not particularly memorable by any means, but for the most part, it's still a pretty decent film nonetheless. So, yep, that's the end of my video review of Miss You Already. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all later. See you, everyone. Bye.